Hey everybody, happy Monday. Flash meteorologist Dave Downey here. Some folks going to be seeing their first snowfall. Yeah, it's barely a few days after Halloween. We're talking the first snowfall in a week or even less than that. November, the rare month of the year where we have to watch the tropics and the entrance of the winter weather season. Let's get right to it. Much of the weather across the country this week pretty quiet, dominated by what we call zonal flow. You see these colors, the brown colors, the lighter brown colors, all moving all very close together and very horizontal. It's what we call zonal mid-level atmospheric flow. Not a whole lot of disturbances moving through the atmosphere. Big area of high pressure across the Midwest, mid to late week. We are going to have a lot of heavy rain across the West Coast, Northern California, into the Pacific Northwest, dealing with some atmospheric rivers. 'Tis the season for those. But then we move it ahead into late this week, into the weekend. Our first area of low pressure, here's the first low with a cold front stretching down all the way to the Red River. Moves east Thursday night into Friday. That's kind of the first kind of tease of the cold weather. And then a second Canadian low forms here. This is Friday night into Saturday. This is the cold front that's going to bring the bout of cold weather and likely some snow to folks. It's kind of connected to that batch of low pressure way up in Canada. Big trough here moving across the eastern part of the country this weekend. This is Saturday night into Sunday. And then that Canadian upper level low is actually going to spawn a secondary surface low down here in about a week's time, next Monday into Tuesday. And that is what's going to bring the chance of, snow, the white stuff. It's been a while since we've talked winter weather. Let's kind of walk through this from a precipitation standpoint. Here we go. First, all the wet weather across the Pacific Northwest, Northern California this weekend. It's going to be wet in and north of the Bay Area. But the rest of the country, I mean, look at this. East of the Rockies, you're not talking about much precip rain. I hate saying precip, but hey, we're talking rain and snow. The S word now, yep. Okay, here's the first batch of low pressure, first cold front with some rain across the Ohio Valley Friday. Not a big issue here. This is going to be just rain with this first cold front as it moves across the eastern seaboard. Friday night, drawing these kind of pink barbs. That's the cold front moving into the Atlantic Friday night into Saturday. But then here comes the big one, if you will. We'll see if this actually materializes, but the model's very confident, let's put it that way, in this second batch of low pressure moving out of the provinces of Canada across the Great Lakes. We've got some snow across northern Michigan, the Upper Peninsula, Saturday night into Sunday. And then here comes, that other area, 3 different areas of low pressure. The third one across eastern Canada dives down here next Sunday into Monday. We're talking snow, likely lake effect snow. All of this snow right here is lake effect off of Michigan. We've got some more lake effect off Lake Erie. We might have to watch the eastern lakes as well for lake effect snow. And this could get all the way to the tri-state, maybe even into New York City, seeing our first flakes. Maybe. This is the second week in November. Not completely unheard of course, but still earlier than usual here. This would be November 11th, the early part of next week. You see how far south these blue lines sag down. That is just about the freezing line. So some growing seasons, especially across the Carolinas, likely coming to an end. It looks like the first part of next week. Let's show you those temperature anomalies, departure from average temperature. This is this week, the start of this week. It's cold across the southeast. Kind of moderates the back half of the week, staying cold across New England, the Northeast. The heat actually builds in across the Midwest and the plains heading into the weekend. A pretty nice weekend, really, other than that cold front week one. It still stays, look at this, above average along the East Coast. But, we get this. Big batch of cold air. Greens, blues, purples on the map. Purple, we're talking 20 to 25 degrees below average, potentially. Maybe even threatening a couple record lows. We'll see. Next Monday, next Tuesday, got some pinks in here. That is close to 30 degrees below average in a week's time in the eastern part of the U.S. And then the continental divide here just about divvies up the cold air to the east and the hot air to the west across the Rockies and towards the Pacific. There are indications, though, that this won't last very long. We could have a couple inches of snow on the ground in the Great Lakes. You know what? Let's just show it to you. Let's pull up the snow. Why not? Let's pull up the snow totals. I'm going to just kind of let this map speak for itself. Look at the lake effect here. A foot near South Bend, Indiana. We'll see. That's probably a little bit overdone, but it's possible. Lake effect this time of the year can do numbers because the lakes are really warm and the air that's moving in is really cold. And that is a recipe for some interesting things to maybe happen next week. Back to the temperatures, though, as I mentioned, there's going to be a quick flip late next week into the next weekend. Look at the hot air build in across the plains and then push east from the Midwest into the rest of the country. That snow, in this case, would not be on the ground very long. We will see. If we do have snow in some populated areas, we will go live next week for some first snow of the season coverage. To the tropics, we, of course, covered Hurricane Melissa in depth and detail. Over 15 hours of live coverage, over a dozen videos, trying to keep the folks of Jamaica safe. The good news, no tropical cyclone activity for the next week. And if we look at the European ensemble, 51 different thoughts of the future, there is a whole lot of nothing growing on in the Atlantic, the Caribbean. Through November, there's one member there that spins up a Cat 1 hurricane near Central America late next week, or actually this is 2 weeks from now. It looks like hurricane season is just about over. There is a very high likelihood of Melissa being the last named storm of the season. The storm name that's next is Nestor. We're not going to be getting to Nestor this year, which is good news as hurricane season by one storm has done more than enough damage. So we've got snow coming next week. We've got a complete dichotomy in temperatures coming next week as well. This week is very quiet except for that atmospheric river in California, but an interesting second week of November ahead, and we'll keep an eye on it here at Flash, the leader, the pioneer in the next generation of severe winter and tropical cyclone forecasting.